Well, finally it is here. It's the Team 17 Collection 1, otherwise known as the Amiga Collection. Super excited for this one. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so here we have the Team 17 Collection 1, otherwise known as the Amiga Collection, with 10 games. And I have to say I'm really excited that this is now on Evercade. As much as I'm a C64 fan, always kind of wanted an Amiga when I was growing up, but could never really afford one. So finally we now have this on Evercade. There's 10 games, they're all from Team 17 obviously. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's have a quick look at the cart. And there's a little bit of information here to all Evercade users, regardless of which platform you're playing it on, whether it's the original handheld, the EXP or the VS. Make sure you're updated to the latest firmware before trying to play these. They most likely won't actually recognise the cart or won't actually work properly at all. So if you've got the original handheld, make sure you go on to the details there and update your firmware, and it should work on the original handheld as well. If you're not sure how to do that, I'll leave a link in the description of a video where I've done that previously. It is pretty straightforward. Not as straightforward as the EXP right enough because it's over Wi-Fi, but yeah, it's still pretty straightforward. So let's have a quick look at the manual before we actually play the games. Always quite important to have a good look at the manual. Sometimes there's some interesting tips on how to actually play the games. And a little bit there about Team 17, who are actually currently still on the go making games, which is really cool. A little bit about Amiga, and that's really quite interesting. For me, I was a C64 guy, but I always wanted Amiga. I mean, I think they retailed something like £400 at the time in the UK, and there's no way I could afford that, or my mum and dad was never going to pay that for me. But yeah, so now we have Amiga on Evercade, which is something we've been asking for some time now. We've got Full Contact, which is kind of like an International Karate Plus style game. Alien Breed, some information there. We've got Project X Special Edition, which is pretty cool actually for a shoot 'em up. I really quite like that. Qwak is probably my favourite game on here. Really enjoy that. Now just be wary, you may have to access the virtual keyboard in a lot of the games. Not for an awful lot of purposes, more or less really just for inputting your name. You see there you press the select button to access the virtual keyboard, but for the best part it's just for inputting names in high score tables. We've got Arcade Pool. Again, this was interesting to me how this will work using a D-pad, because obviously this game was initially thought of with using a mouse. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. We've got Alien Breed Tower Assault. This is the third game in the series, I believe. Body Blows, which is kind of like a Fatal Fury style one-on-one beat 'em up. We've got ATR All-Terrain Racing, which is kind of cool, top-down sort of racer. And lastly we've got Kingpin Arcade Sports Bowling, which, you know, is actually alright, pretty welcome. There's a little bit of a mistake there I noticed in the controls. It's missing the L1 button as well. That switches to a lighter ball. So you basically scroll through them all. L1 goes one way and R1 goes the other way to using a heavier ball when you're using it. But yeah, they've missed that on the controls for some reason. But something I'll definitely want to pinpoint here is that the layout of the manual is a bit odd. In first look you think it's not even in alphabetical order, but in this instance the order is actually in the year of release, which Team 17 actually released their game. So if you go back to start, Full Contact was actually their first game that they released, which is the order that they've put them in the manual. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's a bit random, sometimes it's alphabetical order. It seems a little bit all over the place sometimes. If you see the next video, which I'll make soon, about the Pico Collection 3, that sort of layout is a bit odd indeed. Anyway, without further ado, let's get playing them on the handheld EXP first, and then we'll have a go at the VS, and we'll look at the emulations. Definitely emulation is something I'm really interested in, and how the Amiga emulates on the Evercade systems. Okay, so here we have the Amiga collection all inserted in the EXP. Now make sure it's updated to the latest firmware. If you're connected to Wi-Fi, you should find the details down here to update. It might just take a few minutes to update. And as you can see here, it's all starting from alphabetical order, but that's not necessarily order you might want to play them. You might want to play them in different order, I guess. Like obviously Alien Breed Special Edition 92 was the first game, Alien Breed 2 is obviously second, and Tower Assault was the third game. So you might want to play them in that kind of a order, just so you get an idea of what's going on. But the rest, I guess, are fine. But I suppose we'll start with a little bit of Alien Breed before we sort of jump into playing them on the VS so you can have a better look. Now, one thing I want to sort of probably comment here is that I've actually been playing a lot of these games sort of full screen, and it seems to work for the best part. It doesn't look stretched too much, but again, that's a personal preference. If you sort of change it to normal view, it might look a little bit small on your handheld. So maybe what to bear that in mind. I mean, it doesn't actually look too stretched when you're actually playing the game here. But yeah, if you sort of change the layout display to pixel perfect, probably not a great option here, but oh, I'm going the wrong way. So if you put it to original ratio, it looks okay. I guess this is how it was originally, but I personally think I prefer it to be on the full display. It doesn't look too stretched. I think you can probably just about get away with it without getting too much abuse from everyone out there, but I just think I prefer playing it this way. It looks okay, you can get away with it. Again, that's not going to be the case for every single game, but for the best part, I thought playing them in the stretch sort of way was acceptable to me. It looked a lot better. But yeah, this is a cool game, no doubt about it. I really love Alien Breed, but yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of people thinking, why do we need 3 Alien Breed games? And it's a fair point, because they all play pretty similar, but I think it would probably be a bit like if we got Sonic the Hedgehog on Evercade. You'd probably say, you know, what about Sonic 2 and 3 kind of thing. So it probably is a little bit like that, but yeah, they do all play very similar, but I'm quite happy that there's 3 of them, because they're really, really good games. Anyway, without further ado, let's get them onto the VS, and you can have a good look at them properly as I play through them, and I'll talk my way through it, and I'll give you my opinions of each game, and overall my experience of the emulation and the cart. Let's have a look. Okay, first game is all-terrain racing, and just a little tip here on this screen, don't press the start button because it kind of acts as a kind of a pause, unpause feature, so don't press that. Select arcade mode or whatever with the B button or the A button, and we'll get moving along here. Now at the start there are 3 options of the different sort of levels you can play through, and each of these has about maybe 8 or 9 different stages as well, and you've got options between the novice, intermediate and hard. Then you can add some things to your chosen vehicle, and then you get started with the racing. Now the racing itself is tough as heck. It always reminds me of playing Micro Machines a little bit, like that, but it is so difficult. The best I could ever achieve in these races was actually 3rd, and I thought that was actually really good going. I just felt it's really hard, but it is good fun. I think it's one of those games you're really going to have to play it and memorise the layouts of the tracks and get used to the handling and, of the sort of vehicles, and eventually you might come good. But yeah, at the moment the best that I've got going is probably 3rd place. A lot of the times I feel as if I'm going backwards in the race, but there's definitely good fun to be had here. There's a lot of good tracks in amongst all this, but it is very tough. Okay, we're going to jump on to Alien Breed Special Edition 92 because that's the first game in the actual series on this collection. This is the special edition that was released about a year after the initial game, with a little bit of added stuff. There's more information on the game, as you can see here. Alien Breed is one of those games I definitely always wanted to play. I've played it a few times over the last number of years on the Steam Deck and on the Amiga Mini as well, and it's certainly one that sticks out. It's good fun. It is pretty difficult right enough, but it's one of those games you'll just keep trial and error and learn the sort of layout of the stages. And a couple of tips here is maybe look after those keys. You might run out of keys if you're maybe a little bit careless, not open all these doors. You might have to actually start the level again. It probably isn't wise to try and take out every alien you see because they basically just randomly respawn all the time, so I wouldn't waste too much time trying to clear the level of aliens because it will just never happen. And yeah, please just look after your keys. If you try and utilise some areas, you'll end up running out of keys and then you'll probably have to start all over again on that level. Even that first level is quite tricky to even understand where you need to go, what doors you can open and how you get to the exit. And once you do it, it's quite cool, then it opens up the game to the next sort of stage, and that's also quite cool as well. But this is a great game, I really love it. Not sure if this is the best in the series, but certainly it's a nice little start. It's a good game. It's brilliant to play on the EXP or the original Evercade handheld and take it and play it on the go. Absolutely brilliant.
Requires keys.
So moving on to Alien Breed 2, the horror continues, which is basically the sequel, obviously, and it's pretty much more of the same. There's 14 brand new levels to explore, with 2 additional playable characters. Pretty cool, but this one, it basically feels like a very similar game, except maybe the graphics are a little bit more improved. It sort of reminds me, I'm pretty sure there's a few games on this cart that are using the AGA, which is the advanced graphics architecture that the Amiga was known for. I think it was basically just some of the games had better sounds, slightly better graphics, more colours sort of thing. I can't remember which games are actually using this on this collection, but I'm pretty sure there are at least 3 or 4 of the games are utilising the AGA. But yeah, I'll hopefully find out and I'll leave it in the description. But yeah, this is really good. It's basically more of the same. At the start of the game it's very tough. You're basically just chucked in at the deep end. There's lots of helicopters flying around, and sort of meteors, I think it's trying to take you out. And yeah, basically you just need to try and avoid them and find the exit, and that in itself is actually quite tough. But once you do it, it certainly opens up the game, and you can see the graphics are certainly improved over the original, but it is very similar. There's no doubt it is very, very similar. You need to go through the levels, destroy stuff, collect keys, that kind of thing, but still absolutely brilliant, great fun, great effects, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, this first stage does feel a little bit weird. I'm not really sure what's going on, whether this is how it normally played, emulation wise that is. It seems fine, but it just feels like sometimes there's a little bit of odd stuff going on with the character. Maybe it's just getting pulled in by the helicopters, I do not know. But anyway, overall, another great game, another Alien Breed game, but still, brilliant stuff.
Player 1 has been eliminated.
Now don't forget to access these computer terminals by pressing the Y button to try and upgrade your weapons, maybe add some keys to your inventory as well. Yeah, if you can upgrade those weapons, it certainly makes your life a little bit easier, especially this triple laser gun near the start if you collect enough of the credits lying about. Wow, great fun. Don't forget, it's easy to just pass through it in the game.
Player 1 requires first aid. Player 1 has been eliminated.
So moving on to Alien Breed Tower Assault, which is the third entry into the Alien Breed series. Just ignore the gameplay stats there. I said I've only played this 15 minutes. It was definitely much longer than that. It only tends to record the gameplay time if you exit the game onto the main menu, but if you turn the EXP off, or that unit, whatever you're playing, without actually going back to the main menu, it won't actually record that time, interestingly enough. But the interesting part about this game is the fact, I think it's a little bit less linear than the other two games. You can have a little bit more exploration, it's more wide open, therefore you can get completely lost. There's apparently multiple ways to complete these games. You could probably bypass complete sections altogether. It's very strange. So there's a lot of exploration that can be done in this game. Even in this opening level, you can basically ignore everything going on and just go straight to the exit, but you probably miss out some pickups, I guess, some keys as you go. And this is maybe the best of the Alien Breed games on here. I'm not entirely sure yet, but this one certainly seems more advanced. And yeah, there's the added ability you can actually walk backwards while shooting at the enemy by pressing, I think it's the B button. You can basically walk backwards and shoot, which is kind of quite helpful, I guess. And this is basically the map of this first stage. And like I say, you can basically just completely bypass this and go straight all the way up to the exit leading on to the next stage of the level. But yeah, another fantastic game, no doubt about it, and it's great to have Alien Breed on Evercade. I can't state this enough, this is absolutely massive that we've got Alien Breed and Amiga on Evercade. Really amazing stuff.
Warning, lasers operational. Smart card message follows. Smart card message follows. Torch activated. Smart card message follows. Intex network online. Jordan, warning, energy low. Energy low. Assault failed.
So we're moving on to Arcade Pool now. Now, interestingly, this game obviously used the mouse on the Amiga when it was first released, and even on the A500 Mini you use the mouse to control the cursor. So this one certainly intrigued me how it was going to work by utilising the D-pad. Now, happily to say that it actually works really well. They've sort of nailed it. It's pretty simple, very straightforward. The only thing I think for me is that I feel that the cursor moves just a tiny bit too slow, but I suppose it'd be better that than the cursor moving far too fast. But I think it probably needs to be nudged very slightly to be a little bit more user friendly, so it moves just that little bit quicker. But anyway, that's a small nitpick. All I can say, it certainly works well enough. Now here you can actually input your name on the player setup screen. Just press the select button to bring up the keyboard, and you can basically insert your own name, whatever the heck you want to play, and then press the enter button, and you can have a lovely name at the top, and you can play as yourself, which is brilliant. So there's a lot of different options you can see here. You can play single match, you can play 2 players, you can play a tournament, you can play like a US style pool game or the UK style, and then start the game. You can play against the computer, you can start tournaments. There's lots of different options available, and interestingly, this game, I think when it was first announced, a lot of people weren't aware of it, hadn't played it, thought, this doesn't look very good. But I can state this game is really good fun. I can see myself playing this quite a lot, especially that it works so well on the Evercade with the D-pad. So that's amazing. I think it's certainly one of those games that probably doesn't come across that well on a video. It's basically kind of a boring game. But to play it, it's actually good fun. To play against another player would probably be even more fun. Playing against the computer is fine, but I feel as if the computer cheats like crazy at times and can pot all impossible pots that just don't look possible. But yeah, it's pool, it's great fun, and we have this now on the Evercade. It's probably technically the first pool game, because I think we have another snooker game that's on one of the Data East collections maybe. I can't remember now. But anyway, it's a great game, and I can see a lot of people actually really enjoying this. It's good fun. It's been well implemented on the Evercade. So well done, guys, for getting this one spot on. Okay, as previously mentioned, you can actually play in a tournament against a lot of other computer controlled players, but just a little tip here that you can skip all the other matches. If you don't want to view them, just press the skip button to go all the way through them till you get to your match in the table down below. Don't press the view button, or otherwise you'll probably have to watch the game, which can be a little bit boring, I guess. So we're moving on to Body Blows, which I think best described for me is probably like a kind of Fatal Fury style game from the Amiga. Now there's no doubt about it, this game looks really good. The graphics are absolutely fantastic. I think there's, is it 10 fighters you've got to choose from? You can play against another opponent, or you can play through the tournament against other opponents, or play against the computer as you normally would in these style of fighting games. And the only thing I think I found about this one, it is super tough. I never made much progress at all, which is a little bit frustrating, which I'm not sure if it's my fault, it's the game's fault, the game's too hard. Not entirely sure, but I didn't really enjoy this one as much. This might just be my least favourite game on the collection, but again, I'm not really sure if it's just my fault for not being very good at it. But there's no doubt it looks fantastic. The moves themselves are a little bit limited, You've really obviously only got the one fire button, and just a matter of pressing the directional D-pad in different directions, and you've got different moves. There are power-ups for some of the characters. You can disappear if you hold down the power button. You might like unleash a fireball, for example, but the game is unbelievably tough as nails. I'd love to know everyone else's thoughts on this one. Personally, I think it's too hard and a little bit, it's just not enjoyable, even though you want to enjoy it because it looks fantastic, but I just feel as if the computer is just too heavily weighted to destroy you, and I think I just got frustrated playing this one. Maybe a lot of practice is needed.
I'm sorry about that.
Fight!
I'm sorry about that.
Fight!
Lord, his name be praised.
So this is Full Contact, which was Team 17's first game on the Amiga, and they've certainly made a great job on that intro, which was fantastic. The best way I can describe this game is probably it's a little bit like International Karate or IK+. It basically controls a lot like that. The moves are very limited, much like the previous game, Body Blows. You basically manoeuvre the character with D-pad and you've got one button to punch, kick, depending which direction you press the D-pad in. And I found the best move for maybe the opening couple of characters at least was utilising the roundhouse kick, which was pressing the attack button and down diagonal to the left or right, and that certainly took a lot of health off the characters that I was fighting against. Otherwise it really wasn't making much dent at all. But I definitely like this game. It's not really got the best variety, and obviously it's not really got a lot of moves, but I did enjoy it. It was good fun. It certainly reminded me of IK+. These bonus screens are absolutely torture utilising with the D-pad. I had absolutely no time to even manoeuvre there, which was really frustrating. And some of the later ones as well. you actually need a joystick to be able to waggle the joystick left and right, which just does not work on a D-pad, so it's almost impossible, which kind of makes me think that this Hyper Megatech thing that's coming up, I think I would be really shocked if one of the things that they announce is not like a joystick for the Evercade, which should help with the C64 games and these Amiga games as well. I think I'd be really surprised if that's not one of the things that they announce at some point through this year. But this is a great game, I really enjoy it. It's not the best game on the cart, but it's by no means a bad game at all. It is good fun, just albeit a little bit limited. And I've no idea how to take this blinking dog out. And yeah, this is the one I was talking about. You need to sort of waggle the waggle the D-pad left and right, and it's almost impossible and gets very tiresome to be able to sort of destroy these blocks here. But yeah, we need a joystick for these bonus stages. The game itself works with a D-pad, but these bonus stages do not. So what seems as par for the course on a lot of Evercade collections, did you get the most odd game added into the collection? Fair enough, this is part of Team 17's history, which is fine. And they were initially trying to get some kind of arcade sports series going, but obviously it never really took off. But this was Arcade Sports Bowling, Kingpin Arcade Sports Bowling that is, and it's probably best designed to be played with a number of human opponents locally, and just passing the D-pad. But yeah, you can actually play against the computer as well, which I'll show you later in the video. But it's okay, it's playable, but it's not the most amazing game you'll ever play. But it's all right. You can obviously input your name again by pressing select, and then pressing enter, and then just accept and carry on, and you can then play a game of 10-pin bowling. And as I say, it is quite cool. Pay attention to these tips here, because this will actually affect how your bowl obviously goes when it goes down the lane. It might actually go left or right depending on what's happening there. But yeah, you can press, I think it's L1 and R1 to choose the weight of the ball. Then you press up and down the D-pad, that's the strength you're going to throw the bowling ball at. And it obviously depends how fast. If you're throwing it quite fast, that cursor will probably move much quicker, making it much more difficult to try and get any accuracy in your bowling. And it definitely takes a little bit of practice to get good at this game, and just timing that right and getting the cursor where you want it to go. I've obviously not got that yet. I'm still pretty crap at the game. But the game itself is actually alright. It's not terrible. It just seems like one of those games that you probably won't play very often, unless you maybe have loads of friends down and you fancy having a bit of a tournament going, I guess. But honestly, don't think this game is one of the games I'm going to play very often at all. But in saying that, it's not a bad game at all. If you want to play against a computer, you have to play against the CPU one. I think that's how you do it, but yeah, you've obviously chances each. Now, the disappointing thing for me is this: even though you've inputted your name, which I put CB, you can see at the top right there it says player 1, which, you know, doesn't really correspond to what I typed in, but it is what it is. But it's alright, it's fun, it's playable, but I don't think it's one of these games you're going to play very often. So this is Project X, which is a side-scrolling shooter, which is kind of obvious, I guess. But you can obviously collect these power-ups, which is obviously the P you see in the screen there. And if you keep collecting them, you can upgrade your guns by pressing the B button. You can see at the bottom of the screen, the more Ps that you pick up, the more it sort of builds up. Then you can utilise different weapons, plasmas, speed, guns, etc. It just keeps going. But yeah, it is very difficult. It does get a bit ferocious, and sometimes you feel as if you just crash into things you didn't really see that were there. But I actually really like this game. It's quite good fun. I'm not very good at it. I do enjoy the auto fire function, even though it sounds very irritating in the video. But it certainly helps me, and it obviously helps with sort of finger fatigue when you're actually playing these games. But this is pretty decent. It's really good fun. And shocker, I actually like a shooter. It's very high quality and very enjoyable.
Select now for guns. Toyota.
Okay, something I want to highlight here relating to the high score table. It was reported that once you've inputted your name by accessing this keyboard and then pressing enter, it would jump into the workbench screen, which you see in the background on Amiga products, Amiga games. But this didn't actually happen to me, but you can actually access the back end by pressing F10, which was a standard for a lot of the WHD load games. You can escape the game or return to the sort of workbench screen like you see here by pressing F10. Now, I'm not really sure what you can actually do here. There's a lot of information on the game. There's obviously some parts here that you could probably mess around with, which I would not recommend at all. If you actually utilise the on-screen keyboard and press escape, it will take you to the initial sort of screen on the workbench where you can actually set your I think, what does it say? You set your WHD load options. Now, I wouldn't mess about with this at all. You could end up messing something about. I doubt you will, but I would say just completely come out of there. I think Blaze should probably disable this function altogether. So on to the final game, which is Qwak, and this just might be my favourite game on this collection. I really enjoyed it. I only actually played this for the first time a few years ago, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, really bright, really colourful, and a lot of fun to play. The interesting fact here, it's probably first seen on the, I think they're hinting at the BBC Micro in schools. I can't say I remember it, but they've done obviously an upgraded version of it on the Amiga, and it looks absolutely brilliant, and it's great fun to play, no doubt. But it's very simple. You're basically the sort of duck. You go about the levels, you click the keys. You don't actually need to do anything other than click the keys and get to the exit. You might get bonus points for actually not killing any of the enemies, but you've got eggs that you can utilise to destroy the enemies. Now, you do look like Orville the Duck, which was a kind of a hand puppet here in the UK. I'm not sure if that was deliberate or just purely coincidental, not sure. But yeah, you can utilise these eggs and chuck them to take out the enemies. There's lots of power-ups. Interestingly, you can obviously press the B button to jump, but you can also press up to jump, which was how you actually played the game initially on the Amiga. But yeah, there's a lot of great things to say about this game. It's very addictive, it's great fun, there's lots of levels, there's bosses as well. It does get quite tricky right enough, but it's one of those games you'll just keep on playing and just keep enjoying it until you actually finish it. It's great fun. Like I say, you don't even need to collect all the gems and fruit, you don't even need to take out the enemies. All you need to do is collect the keys and get to the exit. Sometimes there's actually multiple exits. But yeah, I absolutely love this game. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I felt myself getting a little bit addicted and just keep playing and playing. And yeah, if you actually don't take out any of the enemies with eggs, you can get a massive bonus there saying peacefully done. Although I did actually take out the enemies by touching them, just not destroying them with eggs. A bit strange. But anyway, what a great game this is. So my final thoughts on the Team 17 Collection 1. For me, this is absolutely amazing, and the big news for me is we now have Amiga on Evercade, something we've probably been asking for on Evercade for the past 3 years, it feels like. Ever since the inception of Evercade, we wanted Amiga, and now we have it, and we've got 10 games. They're not all amazing games, but I think it's altogether a really good collection. Could well be my most favourite cart on Evercade. It's certainly right up there. It's so amazing having stuff like Alien Breed and Qwak playable on your hand. You can sort of take it anywhere you feel like playing these games. Absolutely amazing. For me, this will probably appeal to a larger audience than the C64 carts did. I think the C64 carts were probably not the most pick up and play games, even though it probably grows on you. These games from the Amiga collection or Team 17 collection are certainly more pick up and go. It will probably appeal to a far larger audience, and there's probably a lot of people out there that never did experience an Amiga back in the day. I certainly didn't have one. I did experience it, but I didn't actually own one due to the fact that it was so expensive. So having an affordable cart playable on your Evercade is absolutely massive, and yeah, I think this will be really huge for Evercade. Hopefully we'll see more Amiga collections. I'm pretty sure we'll see at least another couple, probably even a Team 17 collection too. Anyway guys, thanks for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, and we'll catch you again in the next one. Let me know your comments guys. Bye for now.